Drug bust. Sheriff's investigators worked with Homeland Security in a case that led them to a home on Fairlawn Drive in Wilmington.
Tonight, Juan Puentes, Christian Villarreal, and Diego Dusan face several drug trafficking charges each. WECT's Ava Brengord following the story for us tonight. Now, Ava, you're hearing there's reason to believe all three men could be in this country illegally.
Yeah, that's right, John. The sheriff's office confirms each man has an ICE detainer, which means Immigration Customs Enforcement is looking into whether they should be deported. The men have some ties to Colombia, but it's unclear how exactly that's connected to their alleged drug operation here in Wilmington. I spoke with neighbors living next to the home where the men were arrested. They tell me they're shocked this happened on their quiet street and couldn't believe the...
Unbelievable.
I'm not surprised.
Hello, Margo.
Good evening, Sloan.
Good evening. Welcome to your bi-weekly edition of NC Political Tea.
Are you really shocked? Are you really shocked?
I'm not. I mean, we had earlier this year, we had the newcomers school in Wilmington where they were going to move special needs students out of a school to make way for illegals.
Right. And in the last few weeks, we also had another gentleman who was let out on bail on a Thursday and killed someone on a Saturday. And here we are again. And not only that, they've already given money for a port. So why do they need a port there? What is going on? Also, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Wilmington is one of the three major, what do they call them? Newcomer settlements from the government recognized in North Carolina. That would be Greensboro, Raleigh, and New Hanover or Wilmington. Straight trips, straight from the border.
So the thing about this, asylum seekers, immigration, it is distinctly a federal role. Now, the states control the interior of their own state, of their own, territory with things like mandatory cooperation with ICE. There's some laws stripping all benefits from illegals.
If you have decent state AGs and things like that.
Well, it would also be, I would say, it would also be the General Assembly in North Carolina. We've got a bill that's incarcerated right now that would mandate cooperation with ICE, which would help some, right? And there's a couple of bills I've seen that will strip illegals of benefits. There's also stripping illegals of the benefit of voting.
That's actually on the ballot. This coming up, next Friday. So that's
November. We could have done this. Why didn't we do this a long time ago?
Well, I think this is almost all by design, almost all of it. But I do think that it's really sad if we already have ICE and we already have an attorney general for the state and we already have DAs. Why do we have to have another bill? What the hell?
Well, why do you have to have legislation? Democrats. That's why. Yeah. So now we hear about, I don't know if you've heard about this. We're both on social media. We've heard about it. The incident in I don't remember where it was, where 20 illegals stormed a school bus. Watch this.
To get on our bus, and there was a lot of them.
The district confirmed 20 migrants tried to board the bus Wednesday morning. That's when parents and the driver stepped in, keeping the migrants at bay.
It was definitely really scary.
Yeah. Newsflash to Fox. They're illegals. They're not migrants. Stop. Cut the BS. They're illegals. So they hijacked. I mean, my words, they hijacked the damn bus. What in the hell are you talking about? 20 illegals storm a bus? What the hell?
With children.
Yeah, well, we have last week detailed the 7 or 8 crimes that we know of in the last month where migrants have raped children. Migrants. I'm starting to absorb
illegal immigrants.
Illegals have killed people, obviously, but have sexually assaulted children.
They're very brazen, which is interesting because do you think they're not that way before they come across the border?
Absolutely. They're not civilized. Not every country is the same.
Correct.
And a lot of times it's the criminals that have absconded from their home countries to get away. And they come here because we have what? Open borders, people.
We do. And we have police departments who are trying to do their best in some places, and some they're not trying to do anything. But we don't have any enforcement of immigration laws. Regardless of whether a police officer collects an individual who is an illegal, the chances of getting them out of this country and keeping them out is slim and none.
Ah, well, I'm glad you said that, because the story after next, you're going to hear what has happened with repeat offenders. But this story has been making the rounds. It is absolutely horrific in Colorado. Watch what these illegals do at an apartment complex. It is horrific. Look, the door was open.
And they have guns.
Yeah.
In Colorado, radical Colorado.
Look at that. They're going floor to floor, you guys. If you're on the floor upstairs and are seeing this, oh my God, the cops can't get their people now. That's why, you guys, you've got to stay armed. You've got to take your gun safety classes.
The question is, what are they actually doing? Are they stealing? Are they pillaging? Are they raping?
I don't know, because the door was open. The guy didn't seem to be too interested in going in. Looked to me like they were looking for somebody.
Right. Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible. Now, I know a lot of smart asses out there will say, well, gosh, Sloan, that happens with people that are citizens. It does. It absolutely does. But not for them being in the country illegally. This particular circumstance would not have manifested. See, that's the deal. You could say maybe we already have enough of this. Why are we doubling down and importing more of it? And then not knowing how to catch them if they go back across the border or whatnot.
Well, if in most places like that, there's no bail, so they're in and out. It's catch and release, and the bad part is it's catch and release back in the city, not catch and release back to Mexico.
Correct. So watch this next one, because this is exactly what we're talking about with repeat. By the way, this is just news stories in 2 days since we were on last.
Stood in the woods outside his home and shot at multiple vehicles driving down the street until police arrived on the scene. He then began shooting at officers and they returned fire. The suspect was arrested shortly after. Investigators are working with multiple agencies, including the U.S. Attorney General's Office and Homeland Security. Amaya Marin faces 8 counts of attempted murder and federal charges for illegal re-entry after deportation and illegal alien in possession of a firearm. Authorities tell 3 on Your Side this is not his first incident. The 39-year-old was deported back to El Salvador back in 2007 and returned to the U.S. illegally. He's also a confirmed member of a violent international street gang.
Okay.
Is that from Louisiana or is that from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania?
Philadelphia.
Oh, well, are we surprised?
Well, so he left in 2007 and then came back into the country. I wonder if he came in under Biden's wide open border.
You know, the saddest part is we started out here in North Carolina. We went to California. We went to Colorado. We're heading back to the East Coast now in Philadelphia. I don't think people understand this is all around you.
Right. I mean, we 7 or 8 different cases last week. And then, by the way, that's making the rounds just here in North Carolina. So many comments from you guys. Either people weren't aware of this or they were aware, but they just sent our story to all their neighbors who weren't aware and were calling them liars.
Oh, my. Well, we don't lie on this show.
No.
We show you. We just show you the facts.
Evident. Yeah. But I mean, it's one thing to be talking to people, trying to convince them. It's another thing to show them. So we like to show. All right. So this is another case of Republicans who are utterly worthless. I'm telling you, when you act like a trans Republican, you are more dangerous than a Democrat.
Trans Republican. I'm always going to laugh at that because it's so true.
It is absolutely true. So Oklahoma Republicans formed a special task force to give illegals visas, paperwork, permits, and driver's license. They're also creating the new Office of New Oklahomans to streamline this.
What has happened? What has happened in one of the reddest states out there? And if I were one of the Cherokee Nation, that would really tick me off.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So, I mean, they're getting benefits first. They're able to abscond and do whatever the hell they want and break the law and then have the red carpet rolled out for them.
But it appears that way.
Well, a lot of times when you have a very red state, people will get themselves on the ballot as a Republican because they know there's no other way they can win. And they're actually Democrats. Catherine Truitt, we talked about her, who's now the state superintendent. She's one of them.
There's lots of them out there, though, Sloan. We see it in our own legislature. In the fall, we'll start rating our own legislators against the conservative perspective, and you'll see exactly who's not a Republican.
Right, right. And then we're going to have some fun with the primaries, which we're known for hijinks during the primaries.
Well, you mean through the elections, because we did the primaries already. We're going to do
this. I know. I mean, after the election.
Yeah, oh, yeah. We're definitely going to go through that.
Right after, once we start, once they get back in, et cetera.
Right.
So
it'd be crazy, too, because the mail-in ballots go out.
Yes, and we're going to talk about what the implications are of that. So illegals aren't just dangerous, very costly. So this is, by the way, photo credit here to the New York Post put this out. North Carolina is number 8 in terms of our state tax dollars being drained because of illegals.
It's so funny. I have to say this out loud. You hear all the liberals complain about schools, but you never hear them say anything about this. Never.
$3.1 billion of our taxpayer funds going for illegals. And we have people, Americans, literally starving, losing their jobs, losing their homes, and we're paying this money for illegals?
It's very interesting if you look at that from a contextual perspective of elections. Think about it. Texas is a huge voter population that's kind of, they're browning it as fast as they can. Florida is not being browned, but look down below there, Arizona, then us, then Georgia in a row. That's really scary. It tells you that they've put an influx on purpose.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're spending twice as much more as Michigan. Which is crazy, and Colorado and Nevada.
Well, look, Tennessee's down there at the bottom, and that's pretty interesting to see them even hit the top 20.
Yeah, it's a southern state. That's and while, by the way, we all know this is not a news flash, the economy is absolutely cratering. So here are some signs of hard times. Pending home sales dropped 5.5% in July. Catastrophic.
This is truly almost, I don't want to say the word depression, but we are past the point of inflation being able to be handled and in a full recession headed toward depression, that we are literally on the way.
Yeah. While we have a campaign of joy going on the other side. And it scares the hell out of me. So a policy expert from John Locke was on with Fox and Friends this morning. And they actually, Steve Ducey and this lady actually talked about what we talked about last week, about the farmers who have really been devastated by all this. So let me.
It was last week that Kamala Harris said, I'm going to crack down on corporate greed. These farmers, I was a former future farmer of America. These farmers out there working today, they're largely small and medium-sized farmers with not a lot of land. It's not the great big corporate outfits. They are barely squeaking by. And in fact, most of my friends are going into the red to produce food.
Right. At the end of the day, farmers, it's really one of the main industries in which you have to put up collateral in order to get a loan and hope that you get yield that can make up for that loan and hopefully turn a profit. And right now, small and mid-sized farmers aren't turning any type of profit, and they're having a really hard time and they're struggling.
And usually the collateral is the family farm. And if they go under, there goes the legacy. Kelly, real quickly, when it comes to sausage, what's your favorite way to make?
Okay, so this is a very big deal, especially number one, when you see how much 3.1 billion North Carolina taxpayers are giving to illegals, when our own farmers are, losing their farms, number one. Number two, when you double that with what the Harris and Walz plan is for price controls.
And not in regulations. It's not just price controls. It's price controls and regulations. Think about that. They're going to control the price you can get for a cow, and at the same time make you put a tracker on that cow so they know exactly where it is. Are we in Cuba?
Tell me more about that.
Well, that's the new mandate from the USDA, is that all cattle must have tracking implements on them, GPS trackers, so they know where they are. Why do you need that? Why do you need to know where my cows are?
So the U.S. government does that. So they're
mandating it.
Okay. So that they can control food supply, possibly?
It's possible. It's very possible. Why do you need to know where my cows are?
Yeah. I mean, all these onerous regulations, and farming is very, very big. In fact, chicken farming is, we're the number one producer of chickens.
Really? I thought Georgia was higher than us.
No, we're the number one. So I find that very scary that, not only are, that the economic trends going downward and farmers are paying the price, we're funding illegals, people. That is, it's hard to stomach. So here's another post that I thought was very telling. In addition to the home sales, look at this. Used to be $1.30 for 18 count eggs. We go through that in a week here. It's $5.57 now.
It's free for me because I have chickens, but that's a whole nother story. They're not at my house; they're at my farm, and I trade rent for chicken, for eggs and things like that sometimes. But listen, that's ridiculous. A family that really is looking to keep protein in their diet and really do it economically, that's one of the few things you can't live without.
Oh yeah, it's even if you're baking. Whatever you're doing. I mean, eggs is a staple, and that's why it's used as a benchmark. And this is just, one example. And we talked to Dr. Kim Berry this week about nutrition and how people beyond economic means are forced to eat literal chemicals made in labs rather than fresh food.
Well, I have a rule: if it comes from a box, any kind of box, or it comes from a can, but most likely it's not going in my mouth. If it comes from a glass jar, I'll look at it, but otherwise,
Yeah. Well, a lot of people can't afford that, Margo. It's getting really, really tough out there. So all this is to say, economy is the number one issue. We're showing you why economy is the number one issue. Now, this is very important. Tell us what's going on.
Today at 11:30, there was an emergency meeting at the North Carolina State Board of Elections to see if they would take Robert F. Kennedy Jr. off the ballot. And they acted fakely that they were in consideration of it. And of course, at the final minute, Karen Benson Bell, who's a radical leftist, said, no, we can't do that. It's going to cost the counties $3,500 to reprint their ballots. Like, ask the GOPs, they'll pay that. I mean, I think any GOP could come up with $3,500 to change the ballots, and they have until the 6th of September, which is funny because that's the day mail-in ballots are supposed to go out. But they decided it wasn't worth it. Now, you know why they did that? Because they're majority Democrats.
So tell me how confusing this can be to see both RFK and Trump on the same ballot, given they've been campaigning together a lot.
Well, I think you have to be under a rock not to know that, right? But there are people that are there. I mean, listen, I live in a rural area where we don't have North Carolina television. There's not a North Carolina television channel here. So there's no way, unless you had some other means, to know that this is taking place. And you may possibly not even know that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is campaigning with Trump here. But I think the bigger issue is, why isn't the NC GOP already stepping up to get the word out, to get some people out there as MAT team members for the elderly who literally generally only vote for president? They don't go down ballot. Especially the older they are, the less likely they are to go down ballot. We could easily afford to have MAT teams or, caregivers be trained to help these people to understand, listen, he's not really running anymore. But what are they doing? Nothing.
Well, that's why we need to all step up, come together, and
help each other.
Correct. And so when I was trolling today, I wasn't trolling. I was just looking at the.
Don't lie, you were trolling.
I was looking at the feed for North Carolina politics in preparation for the show, and I have to tell you, I got pissed when I saw this. I'm not picking on this guy, North Carolina Senator Bob Brinson. Now, I don't know him. Full disclosure, he probably doesn't like me now. I get it. But he's up here. He was appointed for Jim Perry's district. He's in a safe district. Okay, so he's going to win. And he puts, spoiler alert, I made the Carolina Journal crossword puzzle 9 down.
So his point is they put his name in the paper in their crossword puzzle, and he thinks that's awesome. Like, get a life.
I don't, and no one gives an S. So I put, I couldn't help myself. How does this relate to lowering inflation, keeping our campuses safe from mobs, and keeping our communities free from illegals? That's what your constituents care about, not virtue signaling from Raleigh.
Well, that guy's appointed. He wasn't even elected.
I know.
What a way to show your image as someone who is appointed by your GOP. That says a lot about both the GOP and this gentleman.
Well, I went through his whole feed. It was just a bunch of nothing. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm going to need to look in the camera and tell you this. If you're either a candidate or you're in office and you think, and I know that a lot of people do, if you think that Twitter is just a throwaway communication tool or X, you are absolutely wrong. And if you think that way, you need to hire somebody that can do it for you. Because I'm telling you, every single journalist across the board, we are not on Facebook. We are not on Instagram. Sorry, we're not on TikTok. Well, I mean, we'll get on there if we have to research something. Every journalist, the epicenter of everything is going to be Twitter. People go to Twitter, and I keep calling that X, just for news.
Because they can get real journalism, not fake BS, MSM, mainstream media, propaganda, psyop crap.
Correct. And it's very timely. And I can tell you, I have, and you have as well, moved mountains from online and mobilized hundreds, probably thousands of people over the last couple of years in direct action, grassroots activism, right? We have informed people. We have influenced the passage of bills, etc. I dare say, as a consultant, I can tell you, it's helped win elections for me a couple times, probably a few times.
I would say if you're a grassroots person, X is the place to be because you're going to get the news first. People come to me quite often and say, hey, Margo, can you help me? I would like to help campaign in New Hanover County, Onslow County, Guilford County. They know I know who to go to get that done.
Oh, yeah. So even if you're going to win and you're going to win, okay, Brinson, you're going to win.
He's won.
Right. Well, I mean, he has an election.
Okay.
But here's the point. And you just heard, okay, that we need voter education to educate people that RFK is on the freaking ballot and it may confuse people. Why not help Trump win? And I'm going to say this to my buddy Neil Jackson, okay, as well. He's going to win also. He put this up today. This says nothing. This does nothing. Who is he talking to? Neil, buddy, who's your audience, man? Nobody's reading this.
Well, and I think if you're going to say something like that, make the statement, but tell us what you're going to do about it. Awesome. You know what inflation is. What are you going to do about it? If you know what it is, Neil, why aren't you we are going to do the following to curb inflation in North Carolina, Neil?
And if anyone will, he will. But look, if we're trying to get the message out, the distinction between Republicans and Democrats, we need you, Neil. We need you, Brinson, whatever your first name is. We have to have you. You've got to get the hang of how to use this. And if you don't know,
let me give you a clue. Problem, cause, solution, benefit. That's all you got to know. If you can do the problem, the cause, the solution, and the benefit, people will swarm on your feed.
Well, yeah, I mean, we know that. But look, if you're a representative, they want to hear this stuff.
Well, and I think part of the problem is these representatives, a lot of them, I wouldn't say this about Benson. He's just Brinson. He just doesn't know any better. But some of these seasoned representatives need to get their 18-year-olds off their TikToks and their Twitters and do the work themselves, because people want to engage with real, legitimate campaigning politicians like based Mike Lee in Utah, who will answer a tweet when you write or a post when you put it out there. But be genuine. Reach out to your constituents. If they knew they could get you on X, let me tell you something. Everybody in your county would be on X.
Right. And I'll tell you, helping out, again, these folks are going to win, but helping out others. I mean, there are others that need help. Why not use a platform that you've created to help amplify others? And so, guys, if you need us, reach out.
Yeah, I'd like to see y'all put out that Vote for Mark Robinson campaign.
Yeah.
You could use the help.
Yeah. So this is a funny story.
With public indecency and intoxication. Court records confirm that Tory Dixon was arrested over the weekend in Raleigh. The warrants also say Dixon exposed himself on the corner of Glenwood Avenue and Blue Ridge Road. Dixon has been on administrative leave. He has been with the North Carolina Attorney General's office since 2009.
What? You think his mama's proud of him?
No, but I wonder if Josh Stein is.
I know. That's the one thing. I just wonder, it seems like, what's a special attorney, by the way? And exactly what is his record? Because now I want to look at it. Now I want to know, what's he been doing over there for Josh Stein? Is he working on those rape kits?
Yeah, we don't know his role. And as I understand it, look, you're going to have to read the report yourself, guys. The way I read it is the guy just got out of his car and pulled his pants down. I have no.
Oh, so there's a little more to it than that. He went to an event that he was invited to and they turned him away. And he got really upset and got in his car and then decided to act like a juvenile what is it? Pervert.
Okay.
Yeah, that's this man clearly has not got good impulse skills. He's obviously not brain aligned age-wise to his body. And thirdly, I just have to ask, is he a DEI hire?
No, he's been there since 2009. Wasn't that before the DEI craze? I don't know.
I don't know, but what has he been doing? Because if you're a special deputy and you've been there since 2009, what exactly have you been doing?
I don't know. And what's more is how many are there? It's just.
And how many of these kind of incidents have been covered up?
Correct. Kudos for the news station to actually get it out there, because that's not typically what happens. So we're going to end talking about the interview tonight. We've already seen it, right? Because it's 8:00 and it was the same thing. It was a lot about nothing, but we're going to follow up with that. We're going to go deeper with that next week, but it was about what we expected. We didn't have time to review everything that was said because it was starting around the same time. So what do you expect her to say at the end of it when we review it?
It's all scripted. I expect a lot of joy, no, nothing.
Both of them together look like a couple of laughing jackasses. The whole world is ablaze because of what she's done. It's nothing to smile or laugh about.
What's funny to me is, why does she need her lapdog with her? Why does he have to be with her to do this?
Comic relief.
I just think it's really a sad statement that you got to carry around what it looks like the image of Captain Kangaroo, only he's perverse, with you. I should call him Captain Stolen Valor.
Exactly. No, there's nothing funny about that.
No, it's not funny at all.
So we're going to end on a good note. On Monday is Labor Day. Now, you guys remember the incident on the campus of Chapel Hill, UNC Chapel Hill, where a bunch of Jew-hating, American-hating, Christian-hating idiots brought down Old Glory and put up the terror flag. And these young men, these brave young men, patriotic, held that flag up. Well, they're getting a concert, a well-funded concert just for them. That, Margo, they cannot name the location.
Because they know it'll be stormed with protesters.
Correct. Who hate everything this country stands for, and frankly hates everything that men stand for.
What's also interesting is you and I aren't getting tickets to that. they're by invitation only.
By invitation.
Kind of like the old Facebook, but when colleges first did Facebook, you had to know someone to get on it. That's how this concert's going to be. And I'm glad it is. They need to be safe. That's the most important thing for these young men. Enjoy the moment and be safe.
I think these guys, because I know a lot of them and I know their families, they can take care of themselves.
Well, they took care of us already. Look at what they did. They stood up for us. And while that may not seem like a big gesture to some, it certainly is heartwarming to know that there are young people in this country and in our community and in the state of North Carolina, and most especially at the University of North Carolina, that stand for something like that. They stand for freedom and the flag.
Absolutely. And I'm hearing that 60% of males under 24 are voting for Trump.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah.
That's great news.
Between 58% and 60%. Now, of course, the younger demographic tends not to vote. So we'll have to see. But that is an overwhelming amount.
So the only thing I would counter that with is blue collar young men who are not in college or are not college educated generally don't vote. So what we need to do is get our high school friends that played football together. Some went to college, some didn't. Tell them to go vote together. Make it a moment together where you talk about the old times or whatever, have breakfast. I don't care. Go get a beer if you're old enough. But just get out there and get your friends to vote.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, for sure. But I know what I'm saying too, telling you is that I've seen a lot of motivated, politically active young men now.
The concern is that it's not the same for women. And so think about that. Think about that. All these young men are pro-America. And where are they going to find some girl to hang out with when most of the girls aren't?
No. Yeah, it's funny because they did a couple of interviews with the DNC.
I saw that.
Yeah, and the guy asked the girl, actually she volunteered that Democrat males are either gay or ugly.
Did you see the one where he said democracy or an abortion? And she chose an abortion over democracy. I'm like, who raised you?
Yeah, who wants to be? Yeah, and you're bringing up an interesting thing. There's not only a political divide. There's a divide in values.
Correct.
That how do you bridge that gap? No wonder it's a hookup culture, because where are young men going to get someone they can find a future with?
Well, and it's so funny because there's this lady on TikTok. She says I'm married to an insane person because her husband's a liberal, and she tries every day to make sense with him. I don't know how they had children. It's amazing, but it's kind of funny to watch her like totally take his perspective and turn it into a talking point on a TikTok. It's actually hilarious.
Yeah, I bet it is, but I bet it's not actually hilarious if you're in the situation. I mean, I can't imagine.
I think the fact she's been able to monetize it, good for her.
Well, yeah, but money can't buy you happiness, I guess, but it can pay for a divorce lawyer.
That's true. Well, Sloan, I guess we'll see each other on Tuesday, and we'll have lots to talk about on Tuesday.
Absolutely. And guys, have a wonderful and safe Labor Day. Enjoy your family, because I'm telling you, it's go time.
That's right. Most especially be safe. Kids are going back to school. They're either starting or they're going to start. There's going to be big college weekends. People are moving in or they're moved in. They've rushed. It's starting to get go time. Y'all be careful and be safe.
And the election. Afterwards, right. Tuesday, pedal to metal, baby.
That's right.
We're here for it. All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye, Sloan.